Okay, I wanted to do an extra long laugh. We're back with Monster Mash again. If you haven't seen the other ones, links will be on the screen. You can click on them. You can check them out. We did Jason. We did Freddy. We did Michael Myers. And now we're on to another horror icon, Leatherface. Leatherface is the main antagonist in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre horror films and the spin-offs. He is known for wearing his mask. As you see here, his mask was made of human flesh, and he engages in murder and cannibalism alongside his inbred family. He is considered to be one of the first major slasher villains, along with Michael Myers and Norman Bates from Psycho. We talked about that earlier. We talked about how Michael Myers was sort of take off Norman Bates, but this was a little bit different because Leatherface was basically controlled by his family. Now, his family was one that was inbred, like I said, and they would do work at a meat factory. Now, what he would do is he would kill people, and he would have to do what his family told him to do, which was kind of a sick thing because he was a little bit afraid of the people that would come into his home. Now, his family would invite people down to the home, you would kill them, and it would be a crazy, crazy stuff. The family was so nuts that they would even use the bones that they kill to build the inside of their house, and they would put them in their barbecue and chili. Now, the family's known because they would enter cook-offs, and they would actually win awards from their human flesh dishes. That is disgusting. And this is one of those movies that scared the living crap out of people when it came out. Like this, you can think of The Exorcist. You can even think of Michael Myers. And Michael Myers was good too. But this one, this is very, very psycho. When you get into the later ones, it gets more and more dark and deeper. It's more nastiness, and I don't even know. It gets like this one is good. The later ones get really, really gory, and I think there was even one where it showed like the insides of a human or something. It's just a little too much for me. But Leatherface is one scary dude. If you see a guy, he's very tall, he's very big, and he runs with a chainsaw, which is scary as shit. Now, if you go to any haunted house, any horror place, like say Halloween comes around, you go to a haunted house, what happens? There's always going to be one guy who chases you with a chainsaw. And where does that come from? That comes from Leatherface and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Obviously, you would be scared if some guy was chasing you down the road with a chainsaw. Now, they do have remakes. There is remakes of this, obviously, because they're going to do remakes. Remakes aren't as good as the original. I would recommend finding the original. The only problem is, one time I went into Blockbuster. Yeah, who still goes to Blockbuster? One time I went into Blockbuster. I was looking for this movie, and I asked them for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And they go, we don't have it, but we have the remake. And I was so mad because they can't get rid of the horror classics out of Blockbuster. You know, you got to keep the horror classics. You got to keep this. You got to keep Freddy. You got to keep Jason. You got to keep Halloween. You got to keep them all. You can't take the classics out. That's one of the things with this. It's very, very scary. And one of the other things that spawned out of this was a video game. And this was a very, very controversial video game. And the reason this was controversial was because back in the day, they didn't have a lot of killing in video games. It was the Atari days, you know, Atari 2600 and all that. People did not really know. This was the first time you could play as a killer. You had Michael Myers going around killing people. Like, seriously, you had a chainsaw and you were killing people on a video game. I mean, now it doesn't seem like that big a deal. But back then, that was crazy. You would actually chainsaw people. There'd be wheelchairs and chainsaws. It was nuts. Although, there is a lot more violence in video games nowadays. But back then, that was crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Now, I do recommend that you check out the first one if you are going to check it out. The original one, check it out. It's not going to be as scary as it once was when it first came out. But it is still a great series. And he's one hell of a scary dude. Anyway, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. Tony Pizza Guy, frag out.